Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And we know at the end of October presents for Halloween, we're always very glad to welcome in Captain Brennan Mathern, Public Information Officer with Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Keith.
We appreciate it very, very much. Look, I got to tell you, this blue light special that you guys do to be able to let people know, this patrol that y'all do and have been doing for many, many years, is one of those special ways that Lafourche is always going above and beyond to take care of the safety of kids, especially around Halloween.
Yeah, it's one of the things that it's commonly known around here. It's just an obvious thing. And we've talked to people from all over the state, and it's really unique. Other agencies, other jurisdictions have kind of copied it. But what we do is essentially, as many of you know, many of our deputies, in fact, around 100 of them actually have take-home units. And if you have one, you have to participate. And so that goes for me and the sheriff and everyone else. Essentially, you'll see us all out patrolling the neighborhoods. And in recent years, we've even had deputies walking on foot in the neighborhoods, interacting with the kids. So it's gotten more interactive over the year. But but by and large, you will see around 100 deputies from the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office patrolling the neighborhoods around Lafourche Parish. We start around 5:30 and end around 8:30. And just to be clear, there's no set times for trick-or-treating. There's no regulations regarding this tradition in Lafourche Parish. I know many places it's like 6 to 8, but that's because those are the peak times of trick-or-treating, right? So we've kind of modeled our time frame around those peak times. So we'll be out as early as 5:30 and stay out as late as 8:30. And obviously patrol deputies will continue to stay out around the clock after that. But you'll see the bulk of us out between 5:30 and 8:30. We will have our overhead lights turning, and that is just to ensure that everybody recognizes that we're in the area, that motorists slow down. Typically when they see police lights, they're going to slow down. And that's ultimately the goal here.
Yeah, so we don't want people to get concerned. We don't want people to be worried that they see police lights on. Those are going to be on for awareness and for safety. And again, the sheriff is very dedicated to that in Lafourche Parish, making sure that the kids are safe.
And to be clear, we're mostly going to have those lights on while patrolling the neighborhood. So if you are on, say, a state highway like LA1 or 308, really anywhere where you see those vehicles with lights on, certainly you always want to adhere to that. Don't assume that they're patrolling LA1. If they get behind you, they are more than likely, they might be conducting a traffic stop. So just to be clear, when we're in the neighborhoods, we'll have the overhead lights on. But if you encounter a deputy, especially on a major highway with the overhead lights on, you should still pull over as normal.
Right. Again, I just want people to know that that's normal. Again, great point to make sure that people who are not in the neighborhoods, that's for these the blue light special patrol is inside of the neighborhoods for the safety of the kids. So great
Absolutely.
point.
And look, with regard to Halloween, I mean, we can get into all of the, tips and everything for trick or treating, but really, I think my biggest message is to parents other than kids. And that's one, that if you're not trick or treating or you're not, you don't have to be on the roads, just stay off the roads. It's one night, there's going to be a ton of kids out there. If you've ever been to a place like, the Nolan Toop subdivision in Lockport, you can barely move in there, with a vehicle. So it's probably one of those nights where you just want to stay home, even if you're not participating, so to speak, in handing out candy. you want to avoid getting on the road at all on Halloween night if you can avoid it. We know people, do have events to go to and things, but it's, again, just for everyone that doesn't have to be out, it's probably you want to save the grocery shopping for another night, some of that stuff. But with regard to parents that are monitoring, kids trick-or-treating, one of the biggest things is cell phones. You're going to be responsible for your kid, maybe a group of kids. Leave the cell phones in your pocket. You're out there for an hour, maybe two, and I understand things come up and you have to respond to a call or whatever, but you don't need to be checking social media. You don't need to be checking text messages. You need to be responsible for the children that are in your care and to make sure that they're staying safe during that time.
Yeah, and you've got some tips that we kind of want to go over, maybe to just make sure that we help remind people how to be safe.
Sure. As you can see here, obvious stuff like, walk around sidewalks if possible or near the edge of the roadway in most cases. Be aware of your surroundings, like we said, unless you're making a call. The biggest one, as far as pre-Halloween is make sure your child's costume is distinguishable and safe. You can do this in a number of ways, but obviously a lot of people buy store-bought costumes and it can be very easy to get confused with regards to kids. So put something distinguishable, something brightly colored or something that, no other kid is potentially going to have. Make sure that the costume properly fits. A lot of these are one size fits most or they're large size. Look, try the costume on beforehand. Make sure that your kid isn't tripping over it. Things that are timeless, like inspecting all the treats, making sure that anything is open or homemade, that you discard it unless you absolutely know who it comes from. If there's even a question about it, it's not worth it. Throw it away. Remind children, though, to stay in front of residents. Never go into a residence. Don't go to the back of a residence. And look, bottom line is have a plan in case you get separated from your kids, especially if you have a group of kids. Have a plan to, a phone number to call or, a rendezvous point, something that in case you get separated, which can happen, especially in those larger subdivisions with bigger crowds.
Yeah, and we know that people are going to flock to a lot of those areas. Again, if you don't have to get out, don't. And if you're with your kids and you're with a group of kids, stay off your phone. And for the kids, make sure they're safe. Make sure that instead of a mass face painting is a whole lot safer. People can recognize their faces. That way, people don't get confused. Captain Thurman, we thank you so very much for all the things that y'all do for everybody in Lafourche. We're going to have a great Halloween and hopefully no incidents at all.
We appreciate that, Keith. Thank y'all so much.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. A whole lot more Bayou time when we continue.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.